Joshua Barthel is also a National Merit finalist. And before he heads out to lecture at that little school out east, he will give us one last lecture here. Mr. Joshua Barthel.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank our superintendent, Dr. Johns, the vice president of the Board of Education, Jean Clyda, the members of the Board of Education, as well as teachers, parents and families, and of course students for the honor of speaking to you tonight to celebrate the graduation of the inaugural class of UAIS. Hi, Dad. I'll begin with two simple words: don't settle. In his commencement speech for Stanford University's 2005 class, Steve Jobs repeated this central theme regarding how one must find what one loves to do in order to have a fulfilling career. Don't settle. But I'm not sure if I have always exemplified this maxim. In 2008, I received two letters that would indelibly change my life. One was an acceptance letter signed by Mr. Leitz, inviting me to this peculiar new thing called the Utica Academy for International Studies. Even Robert Frost may have shuddered at this choice, as this road had never been taken at all. The other was a rejection letter from MST. At the time, it wasn't critical to me that I was more interested in political topics and polemics than I was in mathematics and science. It didn't matter that I had been swept away by the tidal wave of Mr. Leitz's eloquence. It wasn't significant that I'd already privately decided that I would attend UAIS if accepted to both. That rejection letter made it feel like I was settling. Unfortunately, myopic at the time, I simply missed the point. I was looking for prestige and solidarity without taking into account what I would actually do in high school. I detested being denied a choice in the matter. Ironically, however, I ended up attending a school that gave us, more freedom of choice than I had ever before experienced. As a result, UAIS has allowed me to begin a lifelong journey towards free thought. An ever-elusive goal, it happens to be one I couldn't do without. I do not mention free thinking lightly. It is an all-encompassing philosophy of life, a paradigm we have acquired the tools to embody. To preserve freedom of thought, however, is far more difficult in practice than in theory. You'll never see a clear-cut debate between those in favor of human rights and those cheerfully waving some sort of anti-human rights flag, perhaps featuring a puppy with a rain cloud over its head. It's much more subtle in real life, but the rift endures, and the good fight awaits us. At a time when it is still taboo in some circles to discuss politics, we have the maturity to delve into the issues. At a time when discussions of religion are oftentimes avoided at all costs, we have the level-headedness to strive for tangible solutions. At a time when political correctness has become a sort of social mandate, we have the obligation to distinguish between blind, anemic tolerance and skeptical but justified acceptance. And this is why I began with those two words: don't settle. For it would be a shame for any one of us to emerge from this environment of international cooperation and free inquiry to stand by idly when injustice surfaces. Don't settle for a classroom in which professors are not questioned. Don't settle for a local community in which social injustice permeates while principled citizens turn a blind eye. Don't settle for an international community in which poverty and educational failings persist in spite of catalysts for positive change. If there is anything we have learned at UAIS, it is that policy changes can regularly grow from the ground up if only free thought plays a foundational role. The goal is not perfection. If any group has adapted to challenges, mistakes, and adversity, it is us. It is about having choices. It is about embracing the internal conflict that can and will arise from these choices. It is about accepting responsibility rather than shrugging it off to the next student, family member, citizen, or generation. So as we commence, as we begin anew, I'll leave you with this. The late journalist Christopher Hitchens perfectly framed our responsibility when he said, "Take the risk of thinking for yourself. Much more happiness, truth, beauty, and wisdom will come to you that way." Thank you very much, and congratulations to the UAIS class of 2020.
There you go. It's my pleasure now to introduce somebody who's been an absolute critical part of the UI.